Jason sat in the back of the classroom, quietly unpacking his bag. While other students pulled out notebooks and textbooks, he reached for something else. Small packets of chips, candy bars, and homemade cookies his mother had baked the night before. At lunch, while his classmates rushed to the cafeteria, Jason sat up near his locker, discreetly offering his snacks to those who didn't want to wait in line. His prices were cheaper than the vending machine, and his snacks tasted better. But not everyone appreciated his efforts. "Look, it's the snack boy again," a boy sneered, nudging his friends. They laughed as they walked past. "Trying to be a big businessman, huh?" Jason heard the insults every day. Some students refused to buy from him just to fit in. Others knocked his snacks to the floor on purpose, pretending it was an accident. Even some teachers gave him disapproving looks. But Jason didn't stop. He wasn't doing this for their approval. His mother worked 2 jobs, coming home exhausted every night, barely making enough to cover rent and food. Jason knew if he wanted a better future, he had to start building it himself. So he endured the laughter. He ignored the whispers. And every night, after finishing his homework, he counted his small earnings, tucking them away safely. He didn't have much now. But deep down, he knew this was only the beginning. Jason's business was growing, but so were the obstacles. One afternoon, as he handed a candy bar to a student, a teacher spotted him. "Jason, hand it over," she demanded, confiscating his entire stash. "Selling on school grounds is against the rules." The principal called him to the office the next day. "Jason, this is not a marketplace. If I catch you again, there will be consequences," he warned. As if that wasn't enough, the bullies took every chance to make things worse. They knocked his backpack over, spilling snacks onto the dirty hallway floor. They spread rumors, telling others his food was expired or stolen. Jason lost customers, but not hope. Instead of giving up, he adapted. He started taking pre-orders, quietly passing snacks to students between classes. He woke up earlier to meet customers outside school before the bell rang. Every dollar he made, he saved, never spending a cent on himself. At night, he watched his mother return home exhausted, her hands rough from long hours of cleaning houses. Seeing her sacrifices fueled his determination. One evening, Jason visited Mr. Reynolds, an old shop owner in the neighborhood who had been kind to him since childhood. He confided in him about his struggles. The old man smiled. "It's not just about selling, Jason. It's about learning. Save, invest, and think bigger. You're not just a snack seller. You're a businessman in the making." Jason listened carefully. He didn't just want to survive anymore. He wanted to grow. Jason's reputation as the snack boy spread beyond the school halls. Some laughed, but others admired his hustle. One afternoon, as he was restocking at a corner store, a cafe owner named Mrs. Patel noticed him. "You're always buying in bulk," she observed. "What are you doing with all these snacks?" Jason hesitated, but then decided to be honest. "I sell them at school to save money," he admitted. Mrs. Patel smiled. "I like your determination. How about this? I need someone reliable to supply homemade cookies and small treats. If you can deliver fresh ones every week, we'll split the profits." Jason's eyes widened. It was his biggest opportunity yet. That night, he told his mother about the offer. She was hesitant at first, but agreed to help him bake extra batches of cookies after work. As his profits grew, Jason didn't waste them. Instead of spending on clothes or video games like his classmates, he read books about business, watched online videos about investing, and even started learning about stocks. While others partied on weekends, Jason stayed home, calculating profits and researching business strategies. His dreams were bigger than high school, bigger than anyone could see. But not everyone was happy about his success. One morning, as Jason discreetly handed a snack to a classmate, the principal caught him. "That's enough," he shouted, dragging Jason to the front of the cafeteria. "This school is not a marketplace. You think you can break the rules and get away with it?" Students stared, whispering and laughing. The principal confiscated his bag and publicly banned him from selling. Humiliated, but not broken, Jason clenched his fists. He wouldn't fight back with words. He'd fight back with success. That day, Jason promised himself, one day he would return, not as a student, but as someone they could never ignore. Years passed. The halls of the school were filled with new faces, new students, and new stories. But one thing remained the same: the struggles. The school was in trouble. Budget cuts, outdated facilities, and declining enrollment had pushed it to the brink. With no other option, the district decided to sell it. Meanwhile, a familiar figure had returned to town. Jason stepped out of a sleek black car, dressed sharply in a tailored suit. His presence was different now. Confident, composed. He was no longer the boy who had once been laughed at for selling snacks in these very hallways. After years of relentless work, Jason had become a successful entrepreneur. The small cafe deal had been his first step. He had reinvested every dollar, expanding into e-commerce, stocks, and later, real estate. Now, he owned multiple businesses, but there was one investment he had his eyes on: the very school that had once tried to crush his dreams. Through a network of lawyers and silent investors, Jason placed a bid on the property without revealing his identity. The process took months. The school board, desperate for a buyer, accepted the offer without hesitation. Nobody suspected a thing. The teachers gossiped about the mystery investor. The principal, now older and weary, worried about what the sale would mean for his legacy. Some feared the building would be demolished. Others thought it would be turned into luxury apartments. Jason said nothing. He simply watched as the paperwork was finalized, knowing that soon everything would be revealed, and when it was, no one would ever look at him the same way again. The gymnasium buzzed with whispers as students, teachers, and staff gathered for an emergency meeting. The principal stood at the podium, his expression uneasy. The school board had arranged this meeting to introduce the new owner, the mysterious investor who had bought the struggling school. Rumors swirled through the crowd. Some believed it would be turned into a private academy. Others feared it would be shut down for good. No one expected what would happen next. The room fell silent as the board director stepped forward. "It is my honor to introduce the new owner of this school, Mr. Jason Carter." A stunned silence filled the air. Jason stood from his seat and walked toward the podium. The whispers grew louder. Some teachers exchanged confused glances. A few students gasped. The bullies from his past, now adults, some working ordinary jobs, others still stuck in their old ways, watched in disbelief. The principal's face turned pale. Jason cleared his throat, gripping the microphone. "Years ago, I walked these halls as a student. I wasn't popular. I wasn't wealthy. I was just a kid trying to help his mother and build a future." He paused, scanning the crowd. "I was laughed at, mocked, banned from selling snacks, but I never stopped believing in myself." A few teachers lowered their heads, guilt creeping into their expressions. "I didn't buy this school for revenge," Jason continued, his voice steady. "I bought it because I believe in second chances. I believe no student should feel like they don't belong. That's why I'm keeping this school open. Not just that, I'm upgrading it." Gasps echoed through the gym. "I'm investing in new facilities, better resources, and scholarships for students in need, because no one should have to struggle the way I did." Applause erupted. Some teachers had tears in their eyes. The principal, once so quick to dismiss Jason, now stood speechless. Jason had returned, not as a failure, but as a legend. The applause echoed through the gym, but Jason barely heard it. He turned his gaze toward the crowd, searching for a familiar face. Then he saw her, his mother, standing near the entrance, her hands clasped over her mouth, eyes filled with tears. She had worked tirelessly, sacrificing everything to give him a better future. And now, she was watching her son change the lives of others. Jason met her eyes, giving her a small nod, silently thanking her for believing in him when no one else did. Among the crowd, his former bullies sat in stunned silence. They had laughed at him, humiliated him, and treated him like he was nothing. But now, the boy they had mocked owned the very school where they once ruled. A few of the former bullies lowered their heads in shame, their faces flushed with the sting of their past actions. They couldn't meet Jason's eyes, knowing all too well the pain they had caused him. Their earlier smugness and ridicule now felt like a distant, embarrassing memory, replaced by the realization of how far he had come. Then, among them, Kevin, always the loudest, the most ruthless, stood up. Jason could see the hesitation in his posture. The man who had once made fun of his hustle now seemed unsure, almost vulnerable. Kevin cleared his throat and took a tentative step forward. "Jason," he began, his voice faltering slightly, unlike the confident, mocking tone he had once used. He rubbed the back of his neck nervously, a gesture Jason remembered from their school days. Kevin, who had stood with the others and joined in on the teasing, now looked small, almost like a kid again, unsure of what to say. I was awful to you. We all were. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. There was a long pause as Jason studied Kevin. His former tormentor stood there, awkwardly shifting from foot to foot, unsure of how to make things right. Jason could see the genuine remorse in his eyes, and something in him softened. He remembered the way it felt to be mocked and belittled, and now, as an adult, he realized that forgiveness was just as powerful as success. Jason took a moment, his thoughts drifting back to those difficult days in school. And then, with a calm that surprised even him, he offered Kevin a small, forgiving smile. "The past is the past," he said simply. "What matters is what you do now." Kevin looked like he had just been handed a lifeline. His shoulders relaxed, and he nodded deeply, almost gratefully. "Thank you," he muttered, his voice soft. For a moment the two men stood in silence, the weight of years between them, but also a sense of understanding, something unspoken, yet real. Kevin was not the same person anymore, and neither was Jason. Jason turned back to the students sitting in the crowd, their eyes wide, some with curiosity, others with admiration. They reminded him so much of himself, the kids who walked through these halls feeling invisible, unsure, and sometimes defeated. He could see their struggles in their faces, the dreams they were too afraid to voice because they didn't think anyone would believe in them. Taking a deep breath, Jason stood tall and spoke once more, his voice steady and strong. "I was laughed at for selling snacks in these halls," he said, his words carrying through the gymnasium like a wave of conviction. "But that small hustle, the very thing you all mocked, built the life I have today. And now I'm here, not to rub it in your faces, but to show you that nothing is too small. Every step, no matter how small, can lead to something bigger." A hushed silence fell over the room, and Jason felt the weight of his words settle into the hearts of the students. "Never let anyone make you feel small for chasing your dreams," he continued. "If I can do it, so can you." The crowd erupted into applause, but Jason wasn't listening to the clapping anymore. He could see the change in their eyes, the shift from doubt to hope. He had planted a seed, and now it was up to them to grow. In that moment, Jason knew that his story wasn't just about proving himself. It was about giving others the courage to prove themselves too. He turned, walking off the stage, his heart full. He had done what he set out to do, and this time, it wasn't just his life he had changed. It was the lives of all those who had been told they couldn't. The gymnasium, once filled with murmurs of disbelief, now roared with applause. The sound reverberated off the walls, echoing the emotion in the air. Students, teachers, and even parents who had gathered for the meeting couldn't help but feel the weight of Jason's words. It wasn't just the fact that he owned the school now. It was the journey he had taken to get there, the persistence, the quiet strength in the face of ridicule. They all saw it, and they couldn't help but be moved. The cheer grew louder, almost like a wave crashing over him, as if the crowd was releasing the tension that had been built up over the years of his struggles. Jason's heart pounded, not from fear or excitement, but from something deeper. He had imagined this moment 1,000 times, but now that it was real, it felt different. It wasn't just about the victory. It was about proving to himself that he could rise above every obstacle, that he could take the mockery and turn it into fuel for his fire. As he stepped down from the stage, his eyes found a familiar face. There, standing by the side of the gym, was his mother. Her eyes were wide, filled with pride, and yet there was a tenderness in her gaze, like she had been waiting for this moment her whole life. She walked towards him, her steps quickening as she reached him. Without a word, she wrapped her arms around him, holding him tightly as if she never wanted to let go. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered into his ear, her voice thick with emotion. Jason felt a lump rise in his throat. He had always wanted to make her proud, to show her that all the sacrifices she had made weren't in vain. She had worked tirelessly to support him, often going without so that he could have more. And now here they were, standing in front of everyone, in a place they once couldn't have even dreamed of. Jason pulled back slightly to look at her, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "This is for you, Mom. I couldn't have done it without you." She smiled, her own tears falling freely now. She didn't need to say anything more. They both knew. Jason stood there for a moment, feeling the weight of what he had accomplished, but also the weight of what lay ahead. He wasn't done. This was just the beginning. He had turned the mockery, the laughter, and the obstacles into the stepping stones of his success. And now he had the power to help others who were still facing what he had once faced. As he looked out across the gym, the crowd still buzzing with excitement, Jason knew one thing for certain. The boy they had laughed at had just become the man they would never forget. And he was ready to change everything, not just for himself, but for every student who would walk these halls in the years to come. Thank you for watching this incredible story of perseverance and success. Jason's journey proves that no matter how many obstacles life throws at you, with hard work and determination, you can turn struggles into success. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like this video and comment below. Tell us your thoughts or share your own experiences. If you enjoy powerful and emotional stories like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. And don't forget to share this video with your friends and family, because you never know who might need a little motivation today. Thanks for being a part of our community. Stay inspired, stay strong, and we'll see you in the next story.